All right. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Jade Rose. I'm one of the librarians at Brandell Library, but specifically, I am the business librarian, which is why I'm here tonight. Are you all, for those of you here with me in person, familiar with your upcoming assignment? You have a company to research? Okay. I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. That's hopeful. Have you guys chosen which company you're going to be researching yet? Many of you are saying yes. Did anyone pick Kroger? It's okay if not. I will be using that as my example today. So I was going to say, if you already chose it, then you're lucking out. But that's what I'll be using for my example today. Okay, so as for what I'm doing here today, I'm here to walk you through the research process specifically for this assignment. So in other classes, you may have been asked to write a paper, you may have been given other research projects, but in this course, we're specifically going to be talking about company research and business research, okay? So I do want to kind of walk us through the research process just to make sure everyone's familiar with the basics before we actually go and do some searches together on the library's website. To get us started, I have question or research question up here. What I'm referring to there is your research topic. So for each of you, that's going to be an industry or a specific company for this project. I am going to briefly talk about search terms as we address your research topic. Just for my knowledge, as we're moving on, how many of you know what I'm saying or know what I'm referring to when I say search terms? Will you raise your hand? Okay, so about half the class is familiar with search terms. That's just fine. I will be going over that today. From there, we'll move into evidence. So I do want to briefly speak to you about the different kinds of business sources you might encounter when you're doing business research. From there, we'll speak about analysis. Really, what I'm getting at here, during your research, these are your thoughts, but in my presentation today, I'm going to speak to you about citation style. I did use APA citation style in my presentation, so I have some examples of that here for you today. And then for the conclusion today, we're going to spend the least amount of time here. I just have a couple of ways that you can get help from the library if you need it for this project. So again, to get us started, I want to talk about your research question or topic. In this case, for all of you, it's a particular company or industry. The reason that we're starting here is that your research topics not only frame your entire project, right? They determine what you're going to research about, what you're going to speak about, but also your research topic is what is going to help you identify search terms. So the reason that search terms are so important for me as a librarian, and especially for all of you as you go to start your own research, is that you cannot search a library or business database the same way that you search Google, okay? And when I put this slide up here, it is not because I am anti-Google. I assure you, I am a librarian. It is my job to find information. So I use Google 100 times a day or more, right? The reason that I include this slide is actually because our familiarity with Google or how much we're used to using it can actually hurt us when we get to a library database. And here's why. Library databases are not built to understand full sentences the way that Google is. Library databases actually work a lot closer to something like Instagram. How many of you have an Instagram account? Okay, so most of the class. So if I wanted to, I could post this photo to Instagram. This is my dog, Alfie. He's very cute. I'm very biased on that. If I wanted to, I could post this photo to my Instagram and I could tag it with things that relate to that photo, right? So I might tag it with summer, boat, lake day, cute dog, because he is, right? And then also if I wanted to, I could search Instagram for the hashtag cute dog and literally scroll through photos and photos and photos that are all tagged with cute dog, right? Photos of cute dogs for days. This is actually way more similar to the way that library databases are built, okay? When a new source or article or industry report is added into a database, librarians like myself, or a lot of times AI, will take a look at that news source and we will tag it with subjects that we think relate back to that article or source. And it's those tags that databases are looking for you to use when you go to do your own searching. And that's what we're referring to when we say search terms. So the good news for all of you is that because you are doing very specific company research, you already have an excellent search term, right? The title or the name of your company. So that's where we're going to start today as we do some of our searching together. But for those of you who are in person with me now, I want to see how you're feeling. Are you starting to pick up what I'm putting down here in terms of search terms, kind of understanding the concept here? So when you enter a library database, you shouldn't be typing in a whole sentence or a whole question. Instead, you're going to want to strategically think about what kind of specific search terms you should be using. So now that we've talked a little bit about how to find some of those sources or how to identify search terms from your topic, I want to talk to you about the different kinds of business sources or evidence that you'll be finding in your research. So there are 3 types of business writing that you should be aware of generally when it comes to doing academic research. These include popular sources. These are those sources that are written for a general audience or really for anyone to be able to pick them up and understand them. Oftentimes when I think of popular sources, I think of like the business section of a newspaper. Really, anyone would be able to understand that if they were to turn to that section of the newspaper. The second type of sources are our trade publications. So these are those sources that are written specifically for a professional audience or for those who are currently working in that field. And I'm going to come back to that one. That's actually my next slide. I want to unpack that idea a little more because especially in business research, you should be interacting with trade publications pretty frequently. And then the third type of source I have here are academic or scholarly sources. These are those sources that are written for an academic audience. These are experts in the field who assume that those who will be reading those sources are doing that for research purposes. And we can talk more about academic sources as we go along as well, because we will be searching for some of those today. Trade publications. Like I said, I just want to spend a minute here talking about what these may look like. So trade publications might discuss research or scholarly academic work, but they're usually doing so with a focus on implementation. So these might be people working in a certain industry or field who go out and read some of that scholarly research, but then they come back to these trade publications and they tell other people working in their field what that means for them. Essentially, how can they apply that research to be more like advice in their field or industry? Some of these trade publications may include some industry jargon. Again, these are really written for people who are currently working in that field, so they may use language that is a little more difficult to understand unless you're really familiar with that kind of industry jargon. And some examples of this could include the Harvard Business Review or Accounting Today. Again, Accounting Today written for accountants, right? Any questions about trade publications before I move on? Okay, so the next type of source I want to talk about is going to be our primary source in business. So sometimes when we're talking about history or other subjects, you may be familiar with using primary sources, but in this class, I really want to focus on what is a primary source in business. So in business, primary sources provide information about what a company or industry says about itself, okay? So examples might include annual reports, statistical data, financial statements, press releases, interviews, speeches, or even blog posts or tweets. So when Starbucks releases a new fall drink and they tweet about it as part of promotion, that is a primary source because that is Starbucks tweeting about its own company, its own product. Okay? When Starbucks releases its annual report, that, as long as it is coming from the company itself about the company, that is a primary source in business. Secondary sources provide information about what others, what scholars, what outside analysts think about a company or industry. So examples of this might include prepackaged company, industry, or market reports, again, from others or outsiders looking in, articles from newspapers, magazines, trade publications, and those scholarly journal articles. These would all be examples of secondary sources. The reason that this distinction is so important is that in business research, you will often need to find both primary and secondary sources in your research. You'll want to know, what is a company saying about itself? You know, what kind of information is it putting out there for its consumers? But then also, what are others saying about that company? So I would expect for this project that you should be interacting with both of these types of sources. Any questions about primary sources in business? Okay. So the next part, I want to talk to you about actually going out and finding this evidence. Now that we know what it should look like or what it might be, how do you go out and find this evidence? My next couple of slides both have links. This first one is a list of recommended databases. This may be especially applicable to all of you because these are the 5 or so databases that I recommend specifically for this project. Okay, so for doing the company research you've been asked to do in this course, these are the 5 databases that I recommend. And I'll talk more about them when I jump out of the slideshow and we get to the library's website. So for this slide, I will make sure that these slides go up on your Canvas courses, okay? So you can come back to these later. But this link will take you to the library's website. It is a link to our databases page. It's called our online resources. It lists all the different databases that the library subscribes to. And then under that, I've listed the 5 or so databases that I think will be most helpful for this project. My next slide is a link to the library's website. This link will take you to the library's homepage, okay? If you ever need to get to the library's website, you can also always Google Brandel Library, and we're usually the first result. So what I'd like to do at this point is actually jump out of the slideshow and go to the library's website to demonstrate a few searches. You guys are welcome to follow along on your laptops, or you can watch up here on the screen. And are we able to see the library's website? Wonderful. Okay. So if you click on that link for the library's homepage, or if you Google Brandel Library, this should be the page that you land on. This is our homepage. I want to speak really briefly about this search box here that says Library Catalog. So our library catalog is best used to find books in our collection, okay? So the physical books that exist in our building, as well as our electronic books or ebooks. If you need any of those for sources, that is what I would recommend using this search box for. For your kind of specific company or industry research, I do not recommend trying to find that in the library catalog, okay? For that, I'm going to recommend going to those databases I pointed out earlier. So to get to our list of databases from this page, we're going to scroll down a bit. We want to look in this gray box that says Quick Links. Under Quick Links, we want to click on Online Resources. And this is probably the #1 question that I get from students, which is they're trying to do their research later, but they can't quite remember, how did we get to the library's databases? Again, it is Quick Links and Online Resources, okay? After you click on online resources, it's going to take you to this page which lists all of the different databases that the library subscribes to. Just like with your streaming services, depending on which show you want to watch, you have to subscribe to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, all of that, depending on which show you want. It's the exact same thing here for the library. Depending on which kind of sources we want, we have to subscribe to all of these different databases. So my biggest piece of advice here is that it does matter which one of these links you click on, okay? Sometimes I have students who come to my office and they say, oh, I just picked one. Can't I get to the same results? The answer to that is no. Each of these links takes you to a different database, which is going to have different sources, okay? So it does matter which one you choose. For this class, for this project, I do recommend that you guys click on the blue box that says business, because you'll be doing business specific research. You should really be starting with some of these business specific databases, okay? I'm going to just move through these and kind of show you each one that I recommend for this project. So the very first one in the list is called Business Source Complete. In order to access any of our databases, you'll just click on the blue link that is also their title. And let's open this one up. If you are on campus, you should automatically be logged in. You'll know when it's worked because you'll see the Brandel Library logo in the top right. If you are at home, again, maybe you are at your house, in your dorm, in your pajamas, at home. If you are asked to log in, just use your North Park ID and password, okay? And that should get you logged in, no problem. For this first database that we're starting with, and again, we're on the very first one in the business sources called Business Source Complete. For this particular project, when you're researching a company, I want you to look up here to these tabs in the blue rectangle at the top of the page. Click where it says company information. And this is going to take you to a new or a different search bar. From here, I recommend that you type in the name of the company you want to research and then click search. It's going to list different companies that match what you've typed in. And I want you to click on the company that represents the one that you are doing research on. You're going to get all different kinds of information. You can click these different boxes to see more. And you can also just scroll through and kind of see what kind of information is linked to this company. It does link you to the company's website as well. I really recommend, guys, especially for this project, don't forget that listening to the company itself or going to their website, that is research. You want to know what a company is saying about itself, right? You want to know how a company is representing itself. So just because the company's website is outside of one of our library databases, that doesn't mean you can't use it. This would be a primary source in this case. So I recommend for each of you explore the website or the web pages that your company has published and just see what you can find. I took a look on Kroger's website. They have various news. You can also look at some different things that they have going on for their investors. There are some pages you can explore. Like I said, take a look at their website, see the way that they are representing themselves to their consumers. You can also use this database for a more generic search, depending on what you're looking for. So you could also type your search terms into here and start more generally. I just like that company information page because that gets you immediately to the exact company that you're looking for. But as you can see, if I just do a generic search for Kroger, I'm getting all different kinds of analysis. And even it looks like these might be some newspaper clips or articles or even videos that you can take a look at. So the different kinds of sources you might find can be really varied here. Now, when you see this that says periodical, A lot of times what I find with these might be your trade publications or those things that are written for a more general audience. If what you're looking at is a scholarly source, what it will say here is usually academic journal. Okay, so the database will typically let you know what kind of source you are looking at. If you wanted to actually read any of these, for instance, if I click on this page is not showing me this article, right? The way that you would actually read this is instead by clicking on the PDF. Do you guys see that? So in order to actually open this up, you would click on the PDF because when you click on the title here, it doesn't open the article or the report. It just opens up information about that source. A couple of other quick things while we're here. I really like this option off to the side on the right. If you click this little envelope, it gives you the option to email this to yourself. So this is something I use all the time in order to keep track of my sources, and I highly recommend if you find something that works for you, please find a way to save it. Whether you download the PDF or email it to yourself, make sure you can get back to that later. About every semester, right around finals, I do have students who come to my office who say, Jade, I promise I did the searching, I found my sources, but I didn't save them, and now I have no idea how I got to them. And usually we have to start the process over. Another thing that I like about this email option is, as you can see here with this box that it has checked, it emails the PDF itself to you. So you don't even have to go back into the database to retrieve this report again. The PDF will be right there in your email. There is also a very lovely cite button off to the side here. Again, you're likely using APA. You can scroll down and take a look at the APA citation. My only piece of advice on this is to keep in mind that these citations are computer generated. They can and do make mistakes, okay? And whatever work you hand in will be graded as your own. So if you are not checking your work, if you're not looking for those little mistakes, you are still responsible for the mistakes it makes when that computer does things incorrectly. And as I'm looking here, sometimes I can spot a very easy mistake. The kinds of things I've seen this do, sometimes I've seen it insert the author's email in for the author's name. Very weird. Another quick one, please, for your professors, if you see something that is in all caps, like if it has the author's name written in all caps, please fix that. That's usually something we can see right away that is an easy mistake. And if you are copying and pasting, please make sure your font is matching the rest of your bibliography or your references, right? Just please take pride in your work. Check for easy mistakes. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay, let me hop back into that page with the rest of the library's databases because there are a couple more I want to show you before we wrap up. Mergent is another really good resource, particularly for this project, and it looks very different from the database that we were just in. So on this one, you can very easily get distracted by all of these options here to the bottom, and some of them you may find helpful, but the simplest way to search this is actually on the upper right-hand corner. You can just type in the name of your company and then select it from the drop-down menu. And this is going to open up a whole report that you can look through. There are plenty of links on here. As you can see, there's latest news that you can take a look at. But in particular for your project, look at this. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. These are all things that you've been asked to find for the companies that you're looking into. You can see top competitors. You've got some financial information. I think this could be a really helpful resource depending on which company you're researching. So just know that this is an option. And again, it's linking you out to their website and their socials. Social media, especially when you're researching a company, is also a primary source. Okay, so the posts that they are posting about themselves on social media, all of that is valid business research. Okay, let's see. In addition to Mergent, I also want to talk to you about ProQuest One, and the last one in the business section we'll talk about is Statista. So let me click into ProQuest One Business. And again, each of these look just a little different, so I just wanted to give you a glance of what it might look like as you're searching these. You can see they've even got company overviews right here, depending on which company you've selected. So you could narrow this down. You could click company reports right away, or again, you can just do a more generic search. What I like here is I can either do a generic search for Kroger as a corporation, or I can go directly to their corporation page and take a look at the company report that ProQuest One has put together for them. This one, what I like is they actually separate it. So they have scholarly journal articles in one section. And then as you scroll down, you also have the trade publications in another section. And I think newspaper articles in another. They also show you some related companies or industries. But I really like the way they've separated information in this particular database. That way you know what kind of a source you're interacting with. You can click view all on any of these, or you can again start your search over and just do a search term basic search for your company. And again, you have the option to email this. You can save the link or print out this report. And look at this. I'm sorry. I know I'm nerding out right now, but you can even just type here in this search box to search all content that's already been tagged with Kroger and search within that content. So there's a lot here for you guys as you're doing company specific research. You're all supposed to go out and become experts on a particular company, right? And I think there are a lot of opportunities here to do so. Okay, our last business-specific database that I want to show you is Statista, and this one can be really fun. So Statista, again, looks a little bit differently. I actually want to show you some of the options up here in the top left. So you can see you can look at statistics, but I want to look at reports. So in reports, I want to scroll over to companies and product reports. And here again, you can search for your company. And I don't even have to click enter or search here. It just pops up. This is such an incredible resource. So for each year that Statista has compiled a report on this company, it will list it separately here. So as you can see, we have the 2023 report and the 2022 report. I'm just going to click on the most recent. This is 44 pages of information about this company compiled for you in one place. That's incredible. That is so much searching done for you and information compiled for you. And you would just click here to download or export that document so that you would be able to read it. Also off to the side, you can take a look and see if any of these particular things are of interest to you. There's sales information. You can again look at competitors, consumer behavior. But again, that large 44-page report, you would just go over here to download and export that report so that you can read it. Okay, what I'm going to do is show you one last database. This one is not business specific, but it can be very helpful for your research. This is actually in the very last box that says news and current events. If you click on that, the last database is called Nexus Uni. This database is actually made up entirely of newspapers. So the reason it can be so valuable to you is oftentimes the business section of all of those different newspapers is included here in this database. So again, I'm just going to open this one up to give you a sense of what it looks like. And here you can even click specifically for company information if you would like. So here I will do a specific company search again for Kroger. And it says, and show me, and then you can select what you would like to see. So you can keep it on company profile. I'm going to change it to all company information and then click search. And again, this is going to pull up all different kinds of newspaper articles that are related to Kroger. Okay. I just threw a lot of information at you guys in a very short amount of time. Do you have any questions about interacting with any of the library's business databases, specifically for this project? How do we feel for those of you who are in person with me now? Where are we at? Are we feeling good about approaching this project? Are we somewhere in the middle feeling a little iffy, or are we not confident at the moment? Okay, feeling better. Hey, that's great feedback. That means we've done something right here today. Okay, what I'm going to do is hop back into that PowerPoint presentation. I just have a few more slides talking about citation very briefly and how to get help. And then I will wrap up for today and take questions at the end. Okay. All right. We can do this. We are almost there. So I'm going to get us back to where we were previously. So now we're moving into analysis. I'm not going to focus on a lot of analysis here. That's where you guys actually read your sources, right? You are not just going to find your sources, you are also going to read them, right? Please nod. Okay, yes, everyone should be nodding. And then you're going to talk about your thoughts and the conclusions you've drawn from the evidence that you've found. In order to do that, you are going to need to cite the different sources that you are interacting with. So what I've done here, I've just provided a screenshot from Purdue OWL, which is the citation website I recommend for all of you. It's a free website run by Purdue University. This is their sample APA bibliography. What I really like, it's highlighted here some different ways, or I'm sorry, some different explanations for the way that they have formatted some of their citations you may find helpful. But also, I just always include this because I don't know about any of you, but I can be a visual learner where it's really helpful for me to see an example. So this gives you a full one-page example of what your citations should look like. Any questions about APA citation before I move on? Okay. My last couple of slides are all about how you can get help from me and from the library. So I do offer research consultations with students. These can be either one-on-one or group consultations. We can meet in my office, which is in the Brandell Library. It's Brandell 117. I'm on the first floor. You guys are always welcome to knock on my door, okay? If you're studying in the library, if you're stopping by to use our vending machines, whatever it is, you are always welcome to knock on my door. The one benefit of making an appointment is that you know I'll be available, right? I do go teach like tonight. I do meet with a lot of students, so it can be helpful for you to book your appointment ahead of time. I do know you guys are very busy. You have jobs. Some of you have multiple jobs. You have extracurriculars, family, friends, school. So if it is more convenient for you to meet with me virtually, that is just fine. Make your appointment. Let me know you need a virtual appointment, and I will send you a Teams link for that meeting. Okay. I have met with a student while she was in the passenger seat of her mom's car while her mom drove her to work. Okay. If you need help, we will make it work. We will find a time. Students typically book somewhere between 5 to 30 minutes with me. This can be anything from genuinely, I have students book 5 minutes in my calendar and they will say, Jayde, please answer my email in those 5 minutes. That's great. That will help me prioritize your email in my inbox. Otherwise, if you want a longer consultation, maybe you want to do some searching together, again, 30 minutes is just fine. Some of the things I can help you with, if you are writing a more in-depth research paper, it doesn't have to be for this class, it can also be outside of this. We can talk about your research topic. We can identify some helpful search terms for searching in our library's databases. I can also help you determine which library databases will be most helpful for your project or your research. As you guys saw, we have a whole page worth of databases. Sometimes selecting one is part of the process. What's probably the most popular option is students often just ask, hey, Jayde, can I come by your office? Can we just do some searching together? You know, can you show me how you would approach this question? And that's just fine. And then, of course, I can always help you with citations. That's another really popular one. So if you need help citing sources in your work, come and see me. My last slide is just my contact information. Also, this is my other dog, Hattie. I didn't want her to get jealous. You saw Alfie earlier. This is my email address, my office number, and then again, I will make sure these slides get in Canvas. And that last one is a direct link to my calendar. So you can click on that link and book an appointment at a time when I'm available. Do you all have any questions for me tonight? You are all going to become experts on one of the companies listed for you, and you feel good about that. Excellent. If, as you start approaching your research or get started, if you realize you'd get stuck or you do need help, you have my email. You can definitely get in contact with me. I would be delighted to help. Okay? And that's all I have for tonight.